Are we good? Perfect. All right, so we'll do introductions a little bit. We're gonna do a quick roll call. Yes, I'm the secretary, right? Someone else wants it. If you're here, please state your name. Great to see some folks in person and online. If you're online, we'd love to see your beautiful faces. If you're able to turn your camera on. But yeah, let's go ahead and do attendance real quick to make sure we have a quorum. We have Denver Sudinger, I'm here. Emma Hazy, Casey Judge, Paul Steiner.
Here.
Paul,
I'm here.
awesome. Dr. Hill. Pranav. Judith.
I'm here.
Wonderful, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Timothy Klein. Negative. Deanie.
Present.
Awesome. Nor here. Sam is not on. And then we have Eddie.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hopefully, I think Emma should be joining us, so hopefully she'll be hopping on soon. But if not correct, Miriam, 30% is all we need for a quorum?
Yes, 3 people in person, yes.
Okay, we are good then. A quorum has been established. I would like to recognize our guest. Hello, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, my name is Janet Walker. I work in parking and transportation at George Mason.
Wonderful. Are you joining? Do you think you're joining YAC on behalf of George Mason?
Well, actually, I'm attending because Sam invited me.
Oh,
Sam,
nice. Well, good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Hopefully Sam joins too. So an overview from last week, we have a bunch of paperwork to approve. But before we do that, you all received the agenda. Are there any amendments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
So moved to second. All right, awesome. Without objection, it is approved. Miriam, on here we have a FOIA script, but we don't have a FOIA script, correct? Hi.
I don't believe we'll do the FOIA script today.
Because we have the hybrid. Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. Saves me a bunch of oxygen. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, sorry. Hi. My name is Emma Heisey.
And as of last meeting, our
Yes, I am
chair.
now the vice chair.
Great. The only one thing before we go forward, just a notice, if anyone is interested, we are still in need of a secretary. So if anyone wants to be the secretary, please let me know, because I'm more than happy to fill in, but running meetings and talking and typing at the same time is not fun, so. All right. Everyone has the documents in front of them. As noted in our last meeting, we just have to do a lot of procedural items with approving new policies. Are there any questions on the documents provided, which we will start with the policies for remote participation. Is there any questions on the policy? Miriam, I know is an expert on this, so any questions or concerns? Okay.
Maybe Denver, it's Sujit. Miriam, do you mind just maybe taking like 30 seconds and just going over the kind of the prevailing items of the remote policy, just for I've gotten a chance to review it, but just so that the rest of the team has an understanding of it.
Sure. So as was stated in the last meeting's training, the remote participation of members policy governs how and the reasons why a member of the council may decide to participate remotely. And it gives some restrictions on how many times you can use certain reasons associated with that. So for example, for personal reasons, it's either 2 or 25% of the meetings you're able to use that excuse to as an excuse or as a reason for not attending. The other thing is that there are certain medical reasons and other physical challenges or disabilities that you may have that you do not have to disclose under the policy. And for those reasons, you are able to participate remotely indefinitely. And so the remote participation of members policy governs how members may participate.
Okay, and is this just kind of a YAC specific policy, or is this governed to
So this is,
all Fairfax
yeah.
County?
So this is so these policies have been drafted by the Office of the County Attorney. They gave us a template for the policy, and we are under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, we are required to adopt the policy uniformly across the organization, meaning Fairfax County as an organization. So it will govern. This one has been drafted specifically for the YAA Council, but the same policy will apply to all boards, authorities, and commissions.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, concerns?
Yes, I have a quick question.
Hmm.
So if you attend the YA council, so how many times do you have to attend and participate? Participate a lot of times to participate if you found a member, whether it's online or in person, is it mandatory?
So, you're expected to participate as many YAs as you can. I believe it's 6 or at least half of the yearly meetings. Miriam, I don't want to step on your toes if you know, it's in our bylaws.
Yes.
Frequency.
Like how many strikes, how many strikes, if you miss 3 times or 2 times, or how many strikes are there if you miss them?
So, I mean, there is a removal process that's outlined again in the bylaws on page 4. So it's a 2/3 vote. We only removed one person because they refused to show up after multiple calls and text and emails in the supervisor's office, also texting and emailing. So though you have to come to half of the scheduled meetings as expected of a person, if life happens, we're a very understanding board. That was the only time we had to use the policy because there's just no communication. So as you see in Article 6, it says half of the meetings, and then we have a removal process below. But per the joining virtually, you can join 25% or 2 meetings virtually.
Yeah.
So we meet every other month. Every month. And then if you have like an outstanding conflict, as noted in the procedures, you may be waived and allowed to join at all times.
And you would have to disclose with specificity. There are the policy does state which types of reasons will require you to disclose to Denver with specificity the reason why you are absent from the meeting.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so where do we excuse or unexcused? For example, if you get sick, like with
It
the,
doesn't make a difference. And honestly, just keep in contact with us and don't worry about it. Yeah.
because I missed
Yeah.
one time, but I
Oh,
was
you're,
sick.
you are fine. Just let us know in advance. You're good.
Because I'll let you know, that'd be the power. I'll let you know, it'd be good.
Yeah,
It's just communication.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions, concerns about the policy? All right, then we're gonna go over to the motion before you all, printed here and in the agenda, meeting items online. I can just read verbatim, so it's on the record. The motion is to approve the Young Adults Advisory Council's adoption of the Young Adults Advisory Council policy for remote participation of members, the Young Adults Advisory Council policy for all virtual public meetings, and the Young Adults Advisory Council for participating in meetings electronic communication. So those other two documents are on line with the documents. So if you all need a moment, does anyone need a moment to review them? You can say yes. All right, so per Virginia Code sections 2.2-3708.2A, 3 and 2.2-3708.3B and C, the Young Adults Advisory Council must formally adopt written policies for all the virtual meetings, remote participation of its members, and participation in meetings held by electronic means during declared state of emergencies. A motion, second, a majority vote present and voting council members are required for the adoptions of these three policies. So that's the motion we will hear today. Any questions, concerns about the motion? And once again, any questions or concerns about the documents? We're all versed, we're all good. Okay, good. All right, with that being said, your signature, your chair, moved that we adopt the Young Adults Advisory Council YAA policy for remote participation of members, the Young Adults Advisory Council YAA Advisory YAA Council policy for all virtual public meetings, and the YAA policy for participation in meetings by electronic communications as written in the document of the same titles, as presented to you all tonight. Is there a second to that motion? Is there any discussion?
Second.
All right, hearing no discussion, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any- Thanks. Any opposed? Well, no, everyone says an aye, no abstentions. So unanimously approved. Awesome. Okay. So that is done. You can officially now meet virtually. We can recommend this to the board and they have to then approve, right?
Yeah.
No?
No, I think you're done.
Okay,
That's it.
done. Awesome. So then goes to the fun stuff of how we want to handle work groups. So if you look at your bylaws, they are amended. As before, we had the infrastructure, the PIT and the TOE committee, right? Due to definitions under existing EACs and Fairfax County, committees have to be scheduled public meetings where work groups can be a little side hustle. So we are hoping to do as a work group just to make our lives a little easier. Also in the bylaws, there's amendments under records, starting on line 116, that puts more duty upon the secretary's hands, because up until this point, we've had recorded minutes and proof of our meetings, but since we are in person, we'll have to have a little more of a paper trail than before, just to make sure we are staying in compliance. So any questions about the bylaw amendments? I just read that.
Janet Walker.
Thank you. All right, hearing no questions, is there a motion to approve the bylaw amendments? Is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it passes unanimously. All right, and then we get into the fun stuff. Now that we have a different structure for our now work groups versus committees, is how we want them to function, what we want them to accomplish, and all that great stuff. I think those who are newer, which is Judith and I are like OGs of the YAC, so that's very interesting. We had high hopes starting with the committees. We originally had 4. Getting down to very targeted areas. As everyone I think experienced, Zoom burnout was real. And folks were really excited beginning pandemic, and then come, early 2021, was exhausted. So we pivoted a little bit, brought it down to 2. The what does P stand for? Planning, infrastructure, and transportation. Thank you.
Yes.
And then talent, outreach and education. Thank you. I was like, all right, here we go. Was a combination of those 2 with the hopes of looking at Fairfax County policies, practices, and having suggestions in which we can make the county more attractive to young people and to ensure that our views are being implemented at the county level, right? When it comes to specific policies, and seeing the general YAC as like the approval body, the place in which we get points of, information, and handle this wonderful paperwork here. With that being said, I will put that out there. If we still find a need and a purpose of work groups with breaking down issues. Or if we want to take a different, okay, let me rephrase that. All right, so with our current structure, we have 2 work groups, right? Many times in this past, the end of 2022, many times in 2022, when we try to use the work groups, a lot of times they were combined due to lack of attendance, right? So do we still find the power in having 2 separate work groups to look at Fairfax County policies, or shall we coalesce into one? What do you think is the best structure and how we can best use our talents?
I would maybe start coalescing into one, and if we find that there is ample participation and attendance, we could maybe end up breaking it back up.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, Denver, I'd agree with that. I mean, you and I have kind of been here from the beginning, and I think we have a lot of lessons learned now about having a lot of splintered work groups. And I think we don't have anything to lose by just kind of coming up under one roof now. Honestly, I think that would be more productive. Everybody's voices would be heard at a single time, and we wouldn't have to have multiple different sessions trying to figure out what was said and what was discussed, right? But happy to, if we genuinely feel like preserving these 2 separate work groups like we have now, and then coming back together might still be the right approach. I'm open to that, but I think at this point, based off of what we've seen, I think one singular group where everybody can, put forth their thoughts, document it, and then move forward might be the most efficient way of going about things.
Or give it 2 options of what they want to do, either the first one or option A or option B, whichever people decide is up to them. What's the best for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, whichever best for them, if it's a good way suitable, which one would you want to be, 1 or 2? It depends if how the people are attracted, or is it comfortable to do 1 or 2? Depends on the people with the decision.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to go to a vote. So
Yeah.
we'll vote on it today. Are there any questions, concerns, or other suggestions when it comes to our work group structure?
What would the work group consist of if it's gonna be just one whole?
Right. So under the definition, actually, I'm going to rely on Marion and Scott here. It still would be a work group, more informal setting, right? And then we got to talk about scheduling, whether we're meeting monthly, every other month. How is everything working together, right? That would be a question, right? Do we want to trust individuals with their talents to take on personal projects and bring them and report out? right? That might be a more effective way, right? Where people are actually impassioned about the thing we're covering. And I'm so sorry, I'm putting my back to the camera here. Impassioned about the thing we're covering. Do we want to have, and granted, we can do that today where we bring down a strategy, right? And say, and you know, in the work group, we can probably have fractions, like factions, right? Where like, Lenore, housing, really love that. And then Emma, I'm just saying, you're really like, yes, I love this idea for the Sully district. Let's go ahead. And Eddie's like, oh, me too, right? So you do one little thing. So it's not like, you know.
Can I ask what has been accomplished thus far in the established work groups?
Yeah, so in the PIT committee, we have, well, as a larger committee, we've been able to support the penny. In the PIT, we put our comments into the modernization plan of the code section for the county. And we definitely were heavy on how they classified single family homes, multifamily homes, lot requirements for that, as well as, hi, come and take a seat,
Thank you.
as well as a small business classifications. So that was a huge part of it. We also did a public testimony in that space. We also gave some insights on zoning laws and changing that there. So that has been it. When it comes to the TOW committee, I don't think anything has been done visually, which is why we're here having that conversation of what's really done. We have another guest in the room. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Sam Niner. I represent the Springfield District under Pat Harity. Thank you. I brought my guest and another guest.
Yeah.
My dad, and she is the lovely George Mason Transportation. And so I'd love her to have any input on ongoing issues with transportation, because I feel that her issues are very important to George Mason. And I think that it's really important for young adults to understand how important transportation is for the countywide.
And we want to make like a formal presentation and conversation, because today we're, as you saw with the agenda, we're purposing a work group. So yeah, I'm happy to have you here, but in the future with talking about transportation, that would be great. Can I get your name, sir, since you're part of our public?
Tom Niner.
Thank you. Awesome. So Sam, we still have you as our secretary, but I know we haven't really got minutes yet. Are you comfortable taking on the secretary role? Or
Yes.
do you want to pass that over?
I'm comfortable.
Okay, I will allow you to take over from now on. So I have our attendance, our guest, our timing for the bylaws that we already passed, that are new requirements for secretaries. So I want to review that, make sure you're okay.
Would it? So much.
Of course. And just report back. You're okay with that? Up to this point, we've been able to rely on video transcriptions. So now
course.
we need. Yeah. Okay, so going back to the work group conversation of breaking down into one, using individual talents and having factions therein. Is there any further comments or questions about that? Are there any other proposals for structure? Hearing none, do we all agree? Is there an objection to dissolving multiple work groups into one super work group?
Can I say something?
Yeah,
I'm not sure if we do that into one, but if we do it to one, that makes sure that what we're not gonna talk about into one section, what we're gonna talk about the whole section, or what are we talking about for just one section?
yeah, and so that's what I did before with tapping into individual talents and having factions type of thing.
Yeah.
Where people are like, oh, like you bring up a Sully district
Yeah.
policy point, which really like resonates with me and my talent and my background, and we can
Yeah.
work together.
Yeah, so when we're working together, we're not just on Sully district, we are one big county.
Yeah,
Like, so
absolutely.
we keep in Janesville,
Mhm.
Hunter Mill, Braddock, Springfield, Lee District, and Mount Vernon District, the Mason District. We are part of that working together.
All right, I would like to have a verbal vote on having the super group, just so it's for the record. Any further discussion? Okay, awesome. Hearing none, all those in favor of dissolving to one group? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Awesome. Thank you for allowing me to have that on the records. We all know everyone is on board, so that passed unanimously. Great, so now I guess we have to talk about frequency. And I am blanking on what we discussed last meeting when it says frequency. We said general YAC every other month. Work groups every month. Is that what we?
Do we do that or do we alternate?
I think there was the discussion of alternating and whether it was a
And
regular
then,
meeting and then a work group or.
yeah, I know
regular
there's a
meeting
meeting,
quarterly.
like if we're gonna be in person, we might as well make it worth our while,
Mhm.
as an hour. worth
Yep.
our while. So do we want to do every other month, 2 hours?
I would likely prefer every month, just for continuity's sake.
Okay. Every month, 2 hours?
I suppose, I mean. Or. We do an hour then, but
Yeah.
to get,
One person.
Okay, say something. Well, if, how long it would take, like, we're doing 90 minutes or like, the topic depends how long it's needed. You never know if it lasts long, though. You never know last long if people want to ask questions or that.
Yeah, so our general meetings, we try to keep to an hour, but as folks have seen with our guests, sometimes it's an hour and 15, an hour and a half. I don't think we ever actually have to get to an hour and a half. But we've had some really great guests and presentations. So that's a conversation, right? We try to keep it to a strict hour to respect our timeline and to respect the guests that present. Yeah. And the work groups have historically been about an hour. So yeah, I don't know, like, I think 2 hours is worth our time driving out. I mean, I'm not that far. I'm in Providence or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because everyone's different. You never can drive or take the bus or whichever you can get to point A to point B
yeah,
for destination.
Outside. For clarification, is it 2 hours for the working group or 2 hours the meeting plus working group?
meeting, it would be meeting plus working group, and that would be every other month.
Uh-huh.
Or we can make, I mean, we can do a 12-hour work session. Right? So like, we are not bound by any structures outside of y'all's personal time commitments, and expectations. So, I mean, it could be, you know,
I'm just trying to gauge what we're talking about right now.
yeah, so it's basically, how do we want to handle work group meetings with general body meetings, and recognizing that our general body meetings is mostly education and then approval of what the work group does.
Okay, I understand that. I think my question was, what are you proposing with the 2 hours?
I don't know how to go. I'm fine to do every other month for 2 hours. I like the idea of chunking it to 2 hours, especially if we're in person. I do like continuity of every month. You know, for the committees that I work with, we do every month, and I think it helps along progress, but if ultimately you want to do every other month, I have no objection.
The other piece too is that the general work groups, once the emergency is lifted, general work groups, but the general sessions should primarily be in person and have those expectations that you can miss a couple or do some virtually. The work groups don't necessarily have that same expectation. So if you were doing, say, 2 hours when you're coming for your general meeting and then a work group time, if there was a need for consistency to maybe add another work group on an off month, you could do that. And you could also do that maybe electronically. So maybe it's a shorter time to carry some of that consistency and give you that, that balance perhaps.
And I guess depending on the structure, now that we've combined these 2 subcommittees, would it be something where we would want to maybe do an extra work group time and alternate between, if we're still looking at these 2 buckets of issues?
Right, and that's my hope for this first night, is figure out what the heck
Sure.
right? And it might not be as macro as we've been talking, but like what is coming down the Fairfax County budget, like pipeline in the next 3 months? Rather than let's talk about talent, right? Like
Right.
what is coming up,
Mhm.
right? What
Right.
can we influence versus like, let's have this macro idea of like,
Right.
bringing all these people from talent and coming in and talking about it, right? Which we can still do, right? But I feel like we've gotten stuck at this dream level
Mhm.
and we've missed out on actual practicality, practical, deliverables. Online, how are you thinking?
I think the every other month 2 hour general body work group is definitely something I would prefer. Um, I'm still trying to kind of comprehend what the higher frequency of the I'm still trying to wrap my head around what the monthly meetings would involve, is because I know we're dissolving the two other separate work groups into one, right? So I guess I'm struggling to understand what we would be doing in those monthly meetings.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is we like the chunk time. We're having in person 2 hours every other month. We'll have the official in-person work group. If we recognize that, Fairfax County just released their legislative agenda and comments are due by November 1st, we have to have a work group meeting, or November 15th, we have to have a work group meeting in November, right? So we would schedule that as an ad hoc, put something together, and then go forward. So that would be like, put a soft hold every month and put a hard hold for 2 hours every other month.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, concerns?
No, and honestly, I think just the every other month cadence kind of prevents, frankly, burnout, right? Like the general churn that we've seen in the membership, I think had a lot to do, with just the cadence we were keeping monthly. And I think, every other month keeps it to a point where we can kind of allow everything to digest between meetings and then come to the next one prepared.
Sounds good. All right, once again, I would like a recorded vote, even though it's not required, just to have it on the record. Any other points of discussion okay. Those in favor for having every other in-person meetings for a block of 2 hours. So we meet on the third Thursday. Is what it is, yeah, the third Thursday of the month, 2 hours from 7 to 9, with a soft hold for work group activities that can be, right? So the hard meeting is every other month, 2 hours, 7 o'clock.
So no in person here or virtual? I'm confused. You want me to do virtual or will be in person? Will be a location for in person just in case?
It will be here
Yes, here.
or the Fairfax County Government Center or wherever.
Or wherever you want to.
Yeah.
Whichever you guys want to have any district, in my district, in my office, or whichever office you want to go to, depends.
Yeah, I think this is rather central to most folks. Sully, I mean, yeah, you're probably what, a 25-minute, bus ride, I have no idea.
Okay, if I live close to near Fairfax, close to me there,
Mhm.
near my Sully district. Everyone else, how do you get here to the mall? Because you guys live in different districts, how'd you get here?
Yeah, I think we drove or were driven, yeah.
I've found this location.
Yeah.
I'm at this location.
Okay.
If you have some different districts, you're gonna have a hard time coming. How do you get here? How do you get here to the central? Everyone else is different. We are a big one county,
Yeah,
just so you know.
yeah, and I believe, there are, hardships with transportation, so we don't have reliable transportation, that's an excuse that allows you, that doesn't hurt you, to join virtually. So if you don't want to take the bus, if that's not,
I will the bus.
okay, yeah, if you don't want to, right, or if that's your main point of transportation, we know at night it can be less reliable. You can join virtually under the bylaws, you just have to express that.
No, that's okay. I can take I have Metro Access, Uber, or whichever transportation I have.
Good.
Oh, sometimes I have a car, sometimes depending on, there's many options for me. Whichever is more comfortable, it depends.
Okay.
Transportation we need to fix.
So it's gonna be 7 to 9 p.m. Thank you. And just for clarification with, are we gonna be on Zoom or are we still gonna do Microsoft Teams?
So we, before your arrival, you might want to take some documents here. We passed our new electronic meeting. We talked about it at the last meeting, as well. Yeah, so those are the bylaws, the ones in red. What?
Is it 2 or 3?
So there are more documents online, which you can read as well. So, Scott sent out a link. That's one. So, last meeting, which I know you were able to attend,
Unfortunately.
we went over the, electronic, changes with the emergency status. Those are the documents that were provided in advance. I broke down how we will be meeting, and they were passed earlier.
So we get Fairfax County emails, or are we still using our personal emails? Personal. Thank you.
Of course, yep. Any other questions? All right, all those in favor of meeting 2 hours every other month? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Awesome.
So then I'll just kind of reiterate, if you're meeting 6 times a year in your general meeting, that would mean under the electronic policy you adopted, everyone could participate in 2 of those 6 meetings remotely, but they could not be back to back. And those are sort of unexcused absences or sort of those convenience purposes. If there are those excuses that are allowed under the policy, those wouldn't apply.
And for the bylaws, you cannot miss more than 3 meetings going forward. 3 of the 12, well, it says in the year, so I guess we would recount in 2021 or 2023.
Is it calendar year or is it?
This is looking at 12 months.
When was the first meeting of those?
I mean, typically when we track those, it's kind of a calendar year. but-
Yeah, we did the same
Yeah.
thing and it's not very clear.
We have this calendar system here.
Mhm.
Which means stuff will be which day,
So we won't be meeting next month.
which date, we don't know.
Yeah, we won't be meeting next month, so we'll be meeting in December.
I thought it'd be 17.
It would be the 15th of December is our next meeting. Yeah. But yeah, so use those excuses. We'll do calendar. Once again, as I noted to Eddie, we have only had to do a removal process once, and that was due to lack of communication with the council, with our staffer, with their district office. Literally, we went above and beyond, doing welfare checks and everything else. Yeah, just keep us informed and, please participate, but don't get too hung up on, oh my God, I missed this meeting. It's fine. We'll make it work. All right, anything else, in regarding to work group structure, meeting structure, we would like to cover? Yes.
I was hoping to get more in depth with, college. I guess with that type of structure. So if we could move into the educational base.
So, what you voted on previously is we no longer have the 2 subgroups, we have the 1 work group.
Okay.
So what we're gonna, once this official YAC meeting ends, we will officially go into that first work group and do a strategic plan of what we want to do in the next few months and what topics we want to cover. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I guess it's the official meeting. Is there any other business, any new business? There's no old business is we have secretary, if you're okay with taking the duties. You have to, yeah, a little note when we are adjourning, or I can continue to do the notes here as well. And all that great stuff. We have a tendency of our guest. I'll do a type, so you like have a template from here going forward. So secretary, so Sam wants to take on the duties of the secretary.
Is the vice chair position open? Or-
We did that last meeting.
Okay.
So, yeah, so, Sam is interested in the secretary. Are there any other nominations for secretary?
Yeah, YAA.
Yeah, we don't,
That would not be.
yeah, that's not us. Yeah, we don't have, our website is through the county website.
Oh.
Yep. All right, any objections to Sam taking on secretary? Hearing none, congratulations. Once again, I'll do template. Now it's per Virginia code with our structures. We have to be very rigid, and make sure we cover things in minutes, so. Yeah. All right, any other old business?
Yeah, the only one we're missing is the Braddock district and who else?
Braddock and
And
Providence.
George Mason.
Yep, and then there's a Mason appointee that.
We are missing a Providence.
Yeah.
We are missing a Providence, so if you all know someone in Providence and Braddock,
Yeah.
please let us know. We can put them over to their
Mhm.
supervisor's office. Yeah, I mean, we have no authority on who gets appointed, but we can definitely recommend. And they're always looking for younger people because the majority of their VAC folks are on the 50+ side of things, so. Yeah. All right. Any other business? I'll put, Braddock, GNU, and Providence. I know Praveen. Pranav.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did we get notice from him?
I don't believe so. Let me go back and look.
He was very excited last meeting. Okay. Awesome. So at 7:49, we have no other further business. Is there a motion to adjourn? I'll move. Is there a second? So we only need 1 second.
All you can.
No, I'll take all of the seconds. That means you're all in favor. You're also in favor. All right, all those in favor of adjourning? Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Awesome. So Deanie, are you talking?
No, I was gonna say hi.
Oh, okay, awesome. So our official YAP meeting is now dissolved and adjourned. We are now going into the work group. So we're the work group. We don't need minutes, but I'm going to take notes anyway, just so we have a record.